Good morning, everybody. I want to introduce myself. My name is Joanne Butcher, if you haven't met me before. And I'm a business coach. I help filmmakers. My business, I call it Filmmaker Success. And I interview filmmakers and find out how they got going in their careers as filmmakers, because everybody wants to have a really great sustainable career as a filmmaker. So today I want to introduce you to producer Shirley Vernae Williams. And Shirley is a director and Emmy-nominated producer who's overseen a ton of television series. So we're going to get to that eventually. But as I always like to, I'm starting with the question, when did you first know that you were a filmmaker, or you wanted to be a filmmaker, or when did you first know? Were you 3 or were you 23?
So it's so interesting because I talked about this a little bit this morning.
Oh,
Um, so this question is right on time. I remember when I was a little girl, I was watching What's Love Got to Do with It with my parents, and I was so angry, like so angry. And my mom was like, okay, my mom was like, calm down. This is not happening like right now. These are actors and I was like, wait, like an actress did this. This isn't a real person. And she's like, yeah. And then that's when I was introduced to Angela Bassett.
uh-huh.
So out of that, I was always very, very, very attracted to acting. And I would say I loved films, I loved television, I loved content, but I didn't have a direct connection to it.
Sorry.
It's okay. I didn't have a direct connection to it, like in terms of like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do.
Hmm.
So in high school, I needed to take like an elective, and acting was an option. So I was like, I'll just take this. So I took that class and I loved it. It was probably one of the only classes I did really well in. I was a horrible student in high school. So I then went on to do a year in school, and I was like, I'm not an academics girl. I was like, this is not for me. It's not exciting. I don't like it. I was like, I need to do, and my mom and my dad were like, well, you got to do something. So I found a acting school, and I enrolled into a summer program, and I loved it. And then from there, I went on to do a 2-year program at this same acting school. So I knew that I loved story, and I loved being able to express myself and play and live in the world of imagination. And of course, like being in front of camera, it was transformative for me. Like I loved it. But then when I got out of school, I had a hard time booking gigs, and my parents were like, you got to pay these student loans, we're not doing it. So I
Good
got a
parents.
job.
Good parents.
Good parent, very good parents, very good parents. They were like cracking a whip. So Um, I got a job as a transcriber on an Oprah show,
Oh.
and yes, on an Oprah show. It was right when Oprah was she was transitioning out of doing her show and launching OWN.
Oh.
And yeah, and in that, I got to hear directors and producers talk about story and how they create story and ways that they would, you know, influence and enroll their subjects and their talent to give them what they needed in order to produce story. And I was like, this is phenomenal. Like this is such a skill, it's such a talent. So I think in that's when I knew that I could participate in storytelling beyond acting. And I was like, acting is great. I love it. I love, love, love it. But there was something about being able to authentically connect with humans, dig deep into their story, and being a player in helping to facilitate or to tell their story. I think that's when I was like, okay, I want to do. That's what I want to do.
You know, it's so funny that you said, "What's love got to do with it?" Because it was, I was inspired by that film to make my first short film.
Wow.
That is so funny.
Wow.
And I made a film called 25 Cents. And it was just a little short film, but it was, this woman was having lunch with her husband and her little boy, and she gets him to give her 50 cents for the phone. And we see her go out to the phone and she doesn't use it. She pockets the money. And then she goes to the train station and buys them 2 one-way tickets, and she hands over all these quarters. But it was inspired by that movie because when she got to the hotel, she didn't have any money, and she was trying to run away, but she didn't have any money when she
Wow.
out. So
Wow.
that is so funny that was the film that was the spark.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was for me. It was really that film with about the life of Tina Turner was very instrumental for me. That's so fun. So when you said about the job at Oprah, so how did you find that job?
So a very close friend of mine was working on this show called The Black Carpet at BET. She was writing. She was their head writer. And
Mm,
her mentor, who's Joy Chen, my friend is Kristen Carter, and her mentor, Joy Chen, was the executive in charge over this show. So Joy contacted Chris and said, "Hey, I need a transcriber." And Chris knew that I needed work. So Chris was like, "Look, can you type fast?" And I was like, "I sure can. Plug me, set me up." So she connected me with Joy, and then it
wow.
snowballed from there. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I'm very much a sound person. I was once given the nickname Sound Freak. But it's so interesting that it was this audio thing to me, listening and hearing so you were hearing the directors and the producers. So how did they make those stories happen? How did that work on one of those shows?
Yeah, so it was interesting because this was called, I think it was called like the 25th season of Oprah, and it was an inside look into how Oprah produced her talk show.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So all of the footage was us following Oprah's producers, Oprah's directors,
Mm,
all the people on the floor, all of the writers, Oprah herself. So I got to listen in and see how they would talk about the stories that were up for, to
yes,
produce, and
yes.
how they would talk about their subjects, and how they would talk about segments, and
Uh,
just into their world of how they lead their teams and what's important and why it's important. So it was a very different and interesting dynamic because it was us telling the story of how Oprah and her team formulate, or how they produce out the Oprah Winfrey Talk Show.
it sounds as though you got a master's degree in producing.
Oh my gosh. That's what it felt like.
Ah,
That's really what it felt like. And I think that was one of the reasons why so I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I don't have a mommy and a daddy who knows this world, right? So I came into a space knowing no one, knowing nothing about the culture, about the world. I was all alone, isolated, having to figure out everything on my own. So it felt almost like divine intervention, or a huge blessing, that I'm now getting an inside look and training from the best on, this is how you conduct yourself on a set.
yeah,
This is how you tell story. This is how you handle subjects. This
yes,
is how you handle bookings. Like, all of these things from the queen herself.
yes.
I get to listen to all of these things like a fly on the wall, and it's going into my ears, into my brain, and I have to type it. So I
Yes,
was very close
right?
to all of the content and all of the dialogue. And for a lot of people, they hate transcribing. Transcribing is like, whew, it's the
Boring.
most boring and tedious job. But for me, I looked forward to doing it every day because I was getting the content of a lifetime. It
Yeah.
was gold for me.
Oh my gosh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So what did you do after that, now that you had all this training?
Yeah. So I'm obsessed with details. I love to deliver. So in doing that, a lot of, my supervisor and everybody, they saw that in me and they were willing to give me a chance. So I went from transcribing to being a post coordinator and helping into helping with post production services. And then out of that, I lived in the world of post supervising for probably about 5 years, all in television. And then I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this, I'm done, like this is cool. I don't think that this is the world that I want to live in. I want to do something greater. I want to tell story in a different way. So I transitioned out of that and I became a post producer on Joe Berlinger's film Intent to Destroy, which is about the Armenian genocide. I really had to go full stop in post supervising because that's what everyone knew me for and that's what everyone wanted me to do. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. I want to tell story in a different capacity. So, I had to give a lot of no's and sacrifice some jobs and things like that. But Joe was willing to take a chance on me, which I'm very grateful for. And I became a post producer, working in post and helping to tell story and organizing and supervising his post side, along with his editor for Intent to Destroy, which is a full-length documentary about the Armenian genocide, how the Turkish performed a genocide on the Armenian population and killed millions. And to this day, they deny that it happened. I went and I worked with him.
Um, I am probably Joe Berlinger's biggest fan. And so I wonder if you could say a little bit about his work, because I don't know that everybody knows who he is.
Yeah. So
For me, I'm loving hearing this story because I'm like, wow, if you're going to make that jump. And I think it's very interesting you're talking about the sacrifice, because to be 5 years in a certain spot and then have to make a leap, that is a sacrifice, and that's really courageous. But again, you obviously started with the best. So yeah, tell everybody a little bit about Joe Berlinger and his work.
Yeah, and just to speak to that, because there might be people who are looking to transition and a little unsure. It is scary and it is a sacrifice, right? Like I knew that, like I said, that was the thing that I was known for. That is what people wanted me to do. And when you're good at a thing, it could be walking a dog, it could be singing, right? Like people usually want you to keep doing the thing that they want you to do for their own benefit. And that wasn't beneficial for me. I had a different desire. I had a different idea and a plan for myself. And I knew that I was going to have to turn down jobs, and I had to do some volunteering. I had to do things to help build up my resume that could let people know, even the people in my network who knew me and trusted me. But when there's a budget on the table, there's stakes, there's high stakes. People need to know that whatever they're hiring you for, you can deliver in that capacity. So I had to, give up some things, and I had to, come full stop on post supervising and really grind hard and push to get people to say, you got to give me a chance. But with Joe's most recent work is a crime scene that just was released on Netflix. I think it's a 4-part series. It's really good. He has a new Netflix series coming out about, I think it's Mormon cults. It should be out soon in the next few days or maybe next month.
Mm.
He did the Metallica story. He did Lost in Paradise, I believe. Is that
Paradise Lost is where
Paradise Lost? Yes.
I came across his work, and I talk about this film all the time if people don't know it. But from what I read, you know, I don't know him like you do, but from what I read, he was looking to do a film about what at the time in the 80s was being called sort of youth gone depraved, wild. And he heard about this case of three teenagers who killed three children, who murdered three children. And he went down to Kansas or wherever it was, and then followed the trial. And all I can say is if you want to see the way the American justice system fails, Paradise Lost is that. And I followed those three young men's lives. I donated. There were two other films made. And it's an extraordinary piece of work. We showed it at my cinema that I used to run. So that was how I came across it. But that was when I first learned about his work. But he works with very, very difficult material, I would say, right?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And he's a phenomenal filmmaker. Joe was like the perfect situation for me to break into filmmaking or into that side of documentary filmmaking. I have not met anyone who works as hard as he does.
Wow.
He always has a million projects. He is a phenomenal thinker. He pushes his team, pushes us. Like, he has a standard that, you know, he wants us to live by and to work by. And if you are on his team, that's what you're gonna work by that. For me, like, Joe was just he was a phenomenal teacher. And he was so trusting, which was very inspiring, especially like this being my first time and like Joe Berlinger being willing to take a chance on me. It was a great experience. Intent to Destroy was hard, and because of the content, and, you know, me being a Black woman at times felt like PTSD with seeing so many of these Armenians being murdered and slain, and all these graphic photos and footage. And it was really mentally exhausting, emotionally exhausting, but it's a phenomenal film. It's so good.
What was your role? Yeah. What was your role on that?
So I was a post producer. So it was like a hybrid. Our team was very small. We had one editor, and I would spend a lot of time in the Bay with him, helping him to figure things out and put pieces together. And then also helping our archival producer find all of the things that she needed. It was probably about 30-40% archival within the cut out of the entire piece. So supporting her, helping Joe with like managing schedule, not so much budget. We had a producer to help with budget. Just like the day-to-day, while supporting the editor with his needs. Our team was very small.
And how long was that post-production process for that film?
I think it was about 9 or 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah. About 9 or 10 months.
Yeah. So what did you do after your first feature film, documentary film experience? What did you do next?
After that, I found myself producing branded content for a bunch of different agencies, which was very interesting. That's a whole different beast. Producing for agencies is a very different beast, because you're at the client's mercy in a very different capacity. It's more so white label, like you get bought out or bid. There's a bid where they want you to tell the story that they have in mind. And then after that, I went on to Refinery 29. I think I produced and branded for about 2 years maybe. And then I went on to Refinery 29 to story produce short form in their originals department. So they had all these originals ideas. We had a team that would go out and shoot it, and then it would come back to me, and I would work with editors and, you know, identifying what's the story we're going to tell here, story arcs, music, beats, writing scripts, a lot of script writing. And I did that for about a year.
Can I just ask a logistical question there?
Yeah.
So when you, like, let's say a Refinery 29 project, because that's something I'm really familiar with, where in the process does the script get written?
Yeah. So a lot of people have their own process. For me, I'm a producer first. So I like to have a plan, right? I like to go in with a plan. So in that type of situation where I was only in post and someone else was handling production, they would come in, bring me the media, and I would watch down the media. And then after I've watched down the media, I would write out a script, or I would have a AP or an AE do a cut down of like their best selects or best options. And then from there, I'd watch stuff down, and then I would write a script, and then I'd hand that script off to an editor and say, okay, so here's our formula, here's our plan.
Right.
We're gonna follow this plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so very early in the process then. Very
yes.
early.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I like to go in knowing like this is what I got. And you save a lot of time that way.
Of course.
A lot of time and money. Right.
Yeah.
Where you're like, this is our plan. And some editors need that. Some, you know, you in working with your editors, you figure out what type of editor you have. Some editors are like, I just need to get in and see stuff. Some editors are like, no, I need you to just present to me a script, and then I'll go in and get exactly those things. So, you know, that comes along with, you know, working with different people and understanding their experience and stuff like that.
So it's interesting. There seems to be a lot of short form content now, and I think, is that where the way you continued for a little while?
Yes. So short form content is huge. People love, we call it snackable content. And content that they can view on the go. So like you're on the train or you're in the airport. Maybe, and our attention spans, right, like have changed. So we have seen in numbers that people respond very, very well to, you know, big, powerful stories being told in a short form or in a short format. But yeah, it's huge, and it does really, really well. If you look at a lot of these companies like Condé Nast, especially when it comes to branded, Condé Nast, Bleacher Report, Fast Company, Vice, Refinery 29, they do really, really well off of telling stories in a small amount of time.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. I just actually pitched some of my clients to Condé Nast, another Brown Girls Dog Mafia person that I met. Did you stay in the short world for a while, or what did you do next?
Yeah, I still play in that world.
Oh, okay.
It pays very well, especially in branded, right? And as we know, as especially independent filmmaking, it is brutal to the pockets, and we still need to pay our bills and maintain our lifestyle. So I still freelance with a lot of like the Vices and Bleacher Report and Refinery 29. They bring me on to tell their content or tell story, direct, produce their short form content.
Well, I don't know Bleacher Report. What is that?
They're more so about sports.
Oh,
they're more sports related. Yeah, but they're really big.
That would explain it.
Yeah.
You know, I always used to have a joke when I first moved to San Francisco, and my boss and they would all be trading their Giants tickets, and I'd say, "What game do they play again?" and they'd all go, oh.
I love it.
It would drive them nuts. So I see that a lot of what you've done has been in like the Discovery History Channel. How did you make the transition into these bigger long form series?
Yeah. So, again, I was so fortunate to start off in television. Um, and I just have to, I always like to tell that, like, Alone for History Channel is one of my most favorite shows that I've ever worked on. The teams were phenomenal. The content was so, so good. But
Did
I
you have
think
to go out there? Did you have to go out to Patagonia
no,
and
and I'm
be up in
so
the
glad I
mountains?
didn't. No, I'm not. I am not a nature girl. I'm like, where's the heat? Give me a bed and some candles. Yeah. No. But our team that went often, they are people who love nature. You have to. You have to love that side of the world, because it's taxing and it's a lot, and it's hard. What you see is real. That's probably one of those shows that I worked on where I'm like, that is not produced at all. It is 100% authentic, 100% real.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think I remember getting ready to leave, and the company I was at, I was telling them, I was like, I'm getting ready to leave. They were like, well, we could offer you a what was it, assistant director of post production, and I'm like, nah, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. I knew that I wanted to write scripts. I wanted to be more closely with people. I wanted to be in the field. I wanted to, to have a different kind of human connection, and tell story in a different capacity. So once that like clicked for me, I was like, okay, in order for me to do that, I have to stop doing this. So then I was at that's when I came like,
Career sacrifice.
yep, full stop.
Yeah.
Full stop. And I didn't put myself on, I think I saved money for a while just in case I wasn't able to pull a job. I was very, I called all of my friends that I knew and had authentic and connected conversations saying, hey, this is what I know, this is what you know me as, but I'm looking to do this other thing, call me if you see an opportunity come up. And I had to be very aggressive in my approach, and how I went about trying to find more producing jobs. And then that's when I got a call from Radical Media, which is where Joe works at. And they were willing to take a risk and to work with me. So it worked out perfectly.
Which show was that? Which show did they take a risk?
It was Intent to Destroy. So I
Oh,
went right
okay.
from, yeah, when
Yes.
I came out of television, I went into Intent to Destroy.
I
Mhm.
see. I see. And
Yes.
are you planning on staying in the feature film world?
Um, I here's what I do like. I like being able to do whatever my heart feels like doing in a moment. So one of the reasons why I like digital content is because I get to get in, I can work with different teams, different clients, different styles of storytelling for a short amount of time, produce it out, and then move on to the next thing. um with like, I'm working on a full-length feature right now, independently producing, and I've been building my relationships with my subjects for 3 years, and then like around summer 2020 is when we really like went into hardcore development. But with features, um they require, like, the average to produce an average feature, the statistics say it takes around 3 to 10 years. And for me, I think for myself, in order for me to stay committed to a project for that long, I need to be insanely passionate about it.
Yes.
Insanely passionate about it, have the systems, the structures, and the resources around me, to support me in execution or progressing the project, especially, right, we're filmmakers. We're not wealthy, we're not rich, we don't have resources pouring out of the sky. So out of that, it becomes very labor intensive and requires a lot of work. So yes, I will absolutely continue to do features, probably just not back to back, where I can go in, I can do some and then take a break, maybe work on like a short
Right.
film or work
Right.
on some commercials. I like being able to bounce around and do different things.
And what can you tell us a little bit about this film?
Yes. So it's like my baby, my heartbeat. I'm so excited about it. It's called A Break in Belonging, and it's about a pastor who served 23 years in prison for murder. He never told anybody why he committed his crime. He just like accepted his 50-year guilty sentence, but he only served 23 years. And he went off to Indiana State Prison. At the time, his 5 children were ages 12 to 20, and they suffered a lot as a result of this. With like severe anxiety and depression and challenges in school and homelessness. They also at the time were signed to Arista Records under Clive Davis and getting ready to go on this really, really big musical tour. But because of their father's crime, they lost their deal, and so there's a lot to tell and to unpack there. And so the story really highlights the impact of parental incarceration.
Yes.
And then their father went on, Martin, who's the subject, while he was in Indiana State Prison, he did some phenomenal things, like really, really cool stuff, supporting the elderly that was in prison, supporting lifers, supporting people that were getting ready to re-enter society, that were finishing their sentence, to help set them up for success. Now he's home. He's remarried. He's working to rebuild his relationship with his sons, and he's doing some great work in Indianapolis, continuing to support men as they transition back into society. So the story tells his history, which is a very dynamic history. Martin was not supposed to be in prison. And an event happened that led him to prison, and we talk about the event, and like he's gonna talk about like what actually happened, because he never has. We show his sons, how they were impacted, what they're up to now. We have access to over 7 years of Martin in prison, actual archival footage, which is like something that is unheard of.
Wow.
In terms of recordings of people serving time. And then showing like all of this really amazing work that he is doing now with re-entry efforts. So really my goal is to give Martin a voice to tell his story, to humanize people who have a lived prison experience, because us in society say that they don't get second chances and they are dirt. So this, showing his history, showing his humanistic side, I'm hoping to break that stereotype, and really show the world what happens when children lose a parent to incarceration.
Wow, Shirley, this is absolutely one of my top, top topics that I'm interested in. Years ago, I worked with a woman who did literacy in prison, and we put a program together where a mother would come with a book, and the child, sorry, would come to my facility with a book, and the mother would be in prison with the same book, and we would connect them on video so that mom could read to her child.
Mhm.
It was just a beautiful thing. I'd be crying every day at work.
I bet. Yeah, that makes me teary-eyed just hearing that, because
Yeah, yeah,
I was doing research yesterday, and I was reading about all of these books that actually all of these books that illustrator books for children that help them to understand themselves and their parents if they are in a situation where they have a parent incarcerated.
Mhm.
And it's so tragic.
Wow.
It's so tragic what it does to the psyche of a child. It's almost as if the child is experiencing the death of a parent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it okay
Yeah.
if we watch your trailer?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's do it. Now, you know, Zoom is not the best for video and sound, but we're gonna go for it. So how do I do this? I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna share my screen. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen and, oh, why is it not showing me Zoom? You know, I'm not sure that I can do this. It's not, oh, because I'm not the host. VG, who's the host? Angela. Angela, are you there?
Yes, I am. I will make Shirley the host or the co-host right now, so
Make
she
me the
can.
host. Make me the host.
Okay.
And then I'll show it. Technical things. You know, the other day I saw Rachel Maddow was interviewing some super famous person, and their Zoom things all wouldn't work. And I was like, okay, now let's see if I can get it. No, it won't show me. Oh, I know. No. I know how to do it. I've got it. I got it. There we go. Here we go.
I was a pastor. I was going to prison. I had killed a guy that changed my whole life. One moment I was a law-abiding person who had never had a parking ticket or done anything wrong at all. The next moment, a man was dead. I never explained to them what happened. I never talked to the judge or the prosecutor or my attorney at all about what happened that day. Did I deserve a 50-year sentence? Yeah, I think so. I was guilty. Perhaps the biggest joy of my life are my sons. I have 5 sons: Martin, Maurice, Marcus, Marvin, and Marlon. They were devastated, clearly. Clearly they were devastated. But I wasn't there. I might as well have been on the moon. I didn't see them for many, many years. It was very painful, probably my biggest pain, source of pain, constant source of pain. The thing that humbled me and reduced me to tears often was the status of my sons, especially as I started getting reports of how they were doing, what problems they were having. My sons needed me, and I was not there to give them what only I could give them, to give them what they needed from me. And I robbed them of that. I cheated them of that. My prayer to God that He would send men around my sons who would help them, and so that I then would use all of what God had given me to help the young men around me. That was my trade-off. And to that end, my life was centered in the seriousness of that request and that commitment. I didn't lift weights. I didn't shoot pool. I didn't play chess. I didn't play games. My life was serious, and the brokenness of the men that I found there was severe. And so my work was cut out for me. It was right that I was there. I was meant to be there. If it had been possible for me to be there without the circumstances that I got there, that is an assignment I believe I could volunteer for. I could volunteer for that. And I'm so sorry. I really am. I'm so very, very sorry about how I got there. Even today, I hate it. I do. I hate that it happened. I know that forgiveness is a gift from God, and so I feel forgiven. The answer for me lies in what you then do to try and help others to pull the pieces of their lives back together. And so for me, I cannot bring him back. Maybe I can find some redemption by helping others to stop making the mistakes that they make, and which will make the world safer. And now my goal is clear where my sons are concerned. I'm anxious to try and appreciate fully what happened to them. I'm proud of the fact that they tried to pull the pieces of their lives together and go forward. I need to understand their missions in the world, their goals in the world. My impression is that there is still something for us to do together in the world.
Yay, like.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's so powerful. It's so emotionally intimate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like changed the whole atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right? His interest. He's so deeply introspective and so humble that it changes everything. One just sort of logistical thing that I have is that the music was so good. It was so perfect. How did you manage that?
So I wrote out a script and I edited and scored that all myself. So what I did was I thought about, for each piece, what is it that I want to convey? What do I want people to feel? What is Martin really trying to say, and what can I use as a tool to drive it or emphasize? And I just went into music libraries and started listening. At the top, I was like, I want something that has tension, that has a mysterious feel, that can add like a shock value. At the end, I was like, I want people to feel hopeful, and I want them to feel his deep remorse and his sentiment. So I just went in and I played around and listened to different music, and whatever felt good, I played around and I slapped it in.
Wow, it was really amazing because
Thank you.
it felt as though he was already the most, amazing, deep soul, and then the music just brought it. It's amazing. So,
Yeah.
so when do you think you're going to finish your film, and when are we going to get to see it? And
So I'm launching a Kickstarter campaign on Monday, and that will run. Yes, we've been working on this, planning this we as in me and my team have been planning this for the past 2 months. No, like 2.5 months. If y'all haven't done Kickstarter, if to do it and do it right takes a lot of research, a lot of planning, just a lot of preparation. So we're going to launch on Monday. We were supposed to launch 2 weeks ago, but we had some really cool things come into play that I felt could really support the campaign. So we held off, but it works perfectly. March is Women's History Month. So we get to make history with this. We'll run that for 30 days. And the plan is after that, God willing, all will go well. And then we can start pre-pro and hopefully start filming in May or June.
How much are you going to raise on Kickstarter?
60K.
Woo!
The goal is 60K. Yes, I'm so excited. I'm
So-
saying we have like we partner with, so I'm really being very intentional and working hard and using this film as a tool to have an impact. I really want to support the formerly incarcerated population. So like we've partnered with organizations that provide jobs to formerly incarcerated, where we could buy their artwork and offer it as rewards, buy t-shirts that are produced and printed by the formerly incarcerated to help them in providing them jobs, providing them opportunities. So there's like all these connections to that population and to that community where we can have a very big direct impact. So I think that's the thing that I'm most excited about in terms of this Kickstarter campaign.
Well, I often tell my documentary film clients, impact producing is a big, that's the word of the moment. It used to be audience development, then it became audience engagement, and now it's impact. But that's when you're talking about a film like this, then you really want to build out that whole impact piece, because oh my God, how many people are going to be impacted by seeing this film and being able to talk about, what's going on. And it's an incredibly powerful piece. So if you had everything work in your favor, when is it going to be finished?
Released early 2022.
Okay.
So I'm hoping first quarter. So about a year out from now. That's the goal.
Yeah. And where would you like to see it?
Dream is a major streaming platform. We had a very encouraging and feeling promising conversation with HBO on Monday of this week, just a few days ago. We've been on their radar and having conversations, and I'm very excited about that. I told them they would be one of my top picks because I'm such a big fan. But this story is so dynamic and so layered, so rich, so complex that I believe, in order for it to really do it justice, we've got to get it on a very premium and prominent streaming platform.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, if there's anything I can do to help, people are asking for the link, and we'll send it out, and a lot of my clients do crowdfunding campaigns, so they all know what that's like. So somebody just finished hers yesterday. So
nice.
Let's open it up for questions. I like it if you will come on video and ask your question. Instead of putting it in the chat, just come in and ask. Who has a question? Matt has a question. Do you want to come on video and ask your question? He's probably sitting home in his pajamas.
Oh, here I am.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Thank you, Joanne. And Shirley, thanks for the information. I'll just kind of, what I typed into the chat was, I'm interested in when you were working with shorts and Vice and Refinery 29, those, I'm assuming they acquire short pieces as well, and it's not just produced in-house. And I'm wondering about the pitching process and at what point they come in. If you show them a 10-minute film that's almost final cut, do they then come in with some budget, or do you need to finish everything? Does everything have to be done?
So to answer your question, I'm not fully sure. I can tell you what I do know, and what I don't know. I don't know too much about like acquisitions. I had been having conversations with Vice about this project, but they passed on it. But we had a lot of conversations, and that, you know, one of the things we talked about, if we were to move forward, it would look like them coming in and supporting from a development standpoint, and putting money into it so that we could develop out more tape to bring to market, and then from market selling it. Now Vice acquired Refinery probably it was a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Now on the Refinery side, the way that it used to work was you could pitch a story that you have done or a story that you have to like an editor, because Refinery started out as a online publication. So editorial and articles and things are a big part of the Refinery culture and brand and franchise. So you could come in and you could pitch an idea, or you could pitch something that you already have. And if there's a way for it to fit, you know, we would figure out a way to make it work. Vice now, as far as I know, you know, especially when it comes to things that are like news related, you could probably have a little bit more flexibility, because that's what they're really, really big and known for, is like their news world. You probably could have a lot more flexibility in terms of coming with something that's already shot, edited, polished, and you want to license it out or get a fee, do an exchange, or bake it into an article, whatever that may be. Or you might have a really cool idea that you want to pitch and get some development money around. That would probably be more towards like the Vice originals or Vice documentary studios. So all that to say, I don't think it's so cookie cutter or black and white and standard. I think that there's a bunch of different ways in which you can do a thing if you want to get a story told on that platform or those platforms.
So it's finding the gatekeepers and pitching it to them.
It's always about finding the gatekeepers. Always. That's why it's so hard for us. Yeah, it's about finding the gatekeepers. But these platforms are so huge, and not everybody is tied to everything. So let's say like you have a piece that's about the environment. I would like find the editors that are talking and writing stories about the environment and reach out to them directly and see if they have insight to the process, because they might be a gatekeeper, because things are so different, and so they're not so structured the way things are like at a network or a streaming services, where it's like, if you want to do a TV show, you need to go directly to this department. Sometimes our departments cross over and intermingle. So there might be editors that write about the environment who also have a big hand in like the video stories that we tell about the environment, or they might be partners with people who tell videos about, or who have videos or produce videos about the environment. But that could be a good starting place with Vice or Refinery 29, figuring out who are the editors writing about your story's topics and reaching out to them directly. And you can find their information. Their information is always public. It's usually like first name dot last name at Refinery 29 or something like that.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about pitching is, you know, getting to really sharpen to know exactly what it is that they're looking for. So they're the gatekeepers, but gatekeepers are also the people who are sitting there going, I wish the perfect story would walk into my office today, you know.
Always.
Yeah. So Justin wanted to ask a question.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm outside, so you may not be able to hear me well, but my question is about creating a team, being part of a team, and networking too. Can you have any advice on that too? So I've been in the trying to get in the film industry, in the TV industry for about 5 years now. I have a degree in television production and all of that too, but I'm having a hard time make connections too. So I have people I know in the industry too, but it's hard to like make that connection of like from like friendship to like professional too. So if you have any advice on that too, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Absolutely. So I'll focus on that question, then we could come back to part B. So in terms of like, well, I guess they're the two are tied. In terms of networking and building community, I think I always tell people it's about building meaningful relationships. I think a lot of times we come to a potential relationship looking to see what we can get from the other person, whether it be like, I'm looking for a job, I need to get a job, maybe this person can get me a job, or I'm trying to get access to their boss, I really need access to their boss, maybe this person can give me access to their boss, where that's not authentic, and people can read that. Like, I always know when someone's they're not really looking to connect to me, they're just more so looking to get to what I got. So I think, in approaching network, one of the most important things is being clear on what is it that you are looking from this person. And if you are looking for a job, don't waste their time. Tell them that. Like, don't play around. It's inauthentic. It's not fair. It's a little disrespectful. Like when you've identified people that you actually want to connect with them, get to know them, get to know their families, get to know what they care about, get to know their passions, spend time. It takes a lot of time, send them a card, send them a gift. Hey, can we do a virtual coffee? I'll send you a digital Uber Eats Starbucks card, coffee on me, and let's just talk. Let's, if you see them on Facebook and they're always talking about politics, maybe, hey, let's talk about that thing that just happened last week. Can you hop on a call? I think one of the most important things in networking is being intentional on creating meaningful relationships. And when you're coming to a potential relationship, actually looking to see what you can give versus what you can take away. Everybody needs support or help in some capacity. So like, maybe at the end of all of my conversations, I always end it with, what do you need support in? Because sometimes it's just like, oh, I'm having a hard time with my resume. Can you look over my resume? So that people know that you actually have an interest or willing to invest in them. And in return, they'll be willing to have an investment in you. But look to have meaningful and meaningful relationships, and look to see what you can give versus what you can take away.
That's great. And Justin, the reason that I do these interviews is exactly for a filmmaker such as yourself, because getting that first foot in is the hard part. And so thank you for asking the question. We probably have time for one more question. And, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but Shirley is female, and I'd love to have a woman filmmaker ask a question. I know Princess is here. We have a few. Maureen, Prerana, Prerana I think left, but does anybody have a question? Any of our female filmmakers? Kwanzaa? No, Deborah, go ahead.
Hi everyone.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
I don't know why the ladies are always more shy than the men.
Just a quick one. I have no background in the film industry whatsoever, apart from, like the gentleman just said, I've done a degree in media and communications, and I did a short film for my, for my final project. I come a bit more from the publishing side, but I'm wanting to get into sort of film production. I suppose it's a slightly strange question, but do you think it's possible to be in that industry with no background in terms of like what you had working, in different parts of the industry, but still within the industry?
Oh, absolutely.
It's completely impossible.
No, nothing is impossible. Absolutely not. The word impossible itself carries the word possible. That's not impossible. Like for me, although it was 10 plus years ago, same situation. Like I said, no silver spoon, no mommy and daddy that worked in this world, in this industry. My only connection was that I knew one person, and sometimes that's it. And for you, you know Joanne, now you know me, and you have all your brothers and sisters who are present on this call. So you're actually set up better than I was. I knew one. You now know 20 or, or 19. But, for me, I knew nobody. And I went in, I got access, and I got an opportunity. My foot got in the door, and then I took the opportunity by the throat and made it mine and worked it from there. But I think and another thing that has set you up is that you have experience in all these other worlds, right? And you get to take those skill sets, that experience, and you get to bring it together and apply it to this. And I would sit down and think about, like, what are the skill sets that I have that I've gathered from my past experience, and I can apply it to being a producer or being a writer or whatever it is that you're aspiring to do, right? And then also, you are an adult. One of the things that's missing from our industry is adults. Like, we love having adults on our team who are experienced, who have work experience, because we know that they are people that we can count on and get a job done. So I think that you actually have a lot more working for you than you may be fully aware of right now in this moment. But me and you can talk further after this. Talk to all these people on the call, let them know what it is that you're looking to do. And you just need one person to help push you in, and one yes, and then you can snowball from there.
So that was a beautiful answer, Shirley. But I just want to also throw in, I'm a coach and I work with filmmakers all the time. So the little adjustment that I would give you, Deborah, is that it's absolute bullshit what you said about not having any experience. So I would just, this is me, I'm Deborah, right? Hi, I'm Deborah. I have a degree in media communications, and last year I made a short film, and now I'm looking for work in the industry. It's a completely different, it's the same facts, but it's a completely different mindset, right? So, yeah, what you said was
I love that. I love that.
Thank you, ladies. Reality check.
That was so good.
Yeah, and anyway, with that accent, you'll be fine.
Perfect accent.
So, Shirley, you're free to go, but I wanted to see if Kawanza might be able to get her question in.
Hey, Shirley. Shirley is like one of my favorite people on the planet. But Deborah, actually, she must have known my heart. It was a very similar question. I had the pleasure to work with Shirley on a couple projects, like 2015, 14, and just wound up jumping back into politics and advocacy and social impact and business. But I know my heart is in storytelling and production. So I'm trying to take this idea of, I don't have experience. It's been so long since I've been behind the camera or building teams. To know this is the perfect time. I know the stories I want to tell, and to just do it. So so that was like what I know. I can call Shirley and ask that, but I wanted to put that in the space too. So I feel like Deborah and I were on the same wave with that.
Yeah, I feel like I would want to hear what Joanne's got to say, because she just got me together too. I was like, oh yes, that language,
Well, so Deborah, you just have more experience, sorry, I'm doing it the right. Kawanza, you have more experience maybe than Deborah has, but Deborah has all kinds of things that she can bring to the table. You have all kinds of things that you can bring to the table in terms of your past experience and your skills and so on. Often, when I start with a client, I look at their resume and I freshen up their resume, and then I lose clients because they go off and they get great jobs, which is wonderful. But so it's often to do with, here we are, we're storytellers, right? Everything that Shirley said about the way you started was all about storytelling. We're all storytellers. And then when it comes to telling the story of ourselves, we're like putting ourselves down. Women are completely trained to do this, and so we have to big up ourselves and be willing to say, I can do that. Because men will always say that they can do it, but we actually can, and have the skills. And so, just let people know and just refuse to put yourself down.
Thank you.
That was great.
Very welcome. So I'm going to bring this to a close. It has been such a pleasure, Shirley, such a pleasure. And as I said, anything that I can do to help with your film, I want to help. And, make a year from now, we're going to be watching this movie, right?
I'm so excited.
And thank you for being such a fantastic guest. And next week, Virgilio, who is our guest next week? We've got somebody fabulous next week as well. We're supposed to do this every 2 weeks, but we got bumped a week. So we're actually going to be back next week with somebody else fabulous. And please go look at my website. Anybody who wants to work with me, please come and work with me. We have a blast. We raise money and we get to be able to speak about ourselves in a fabulous way. So, which, I never really talk about that, but it's so important, right? The way that we present ourselves is really important, So thank you, Shirley. Thank you, everybody, for getting up early and joining us.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.